Rich people do rich people stuff. Battle of the Network shows. Join Rick Brooks and Mike Kogel as they explore the TV of the 70s and 80s through hand-picked episodes of their favorite and not-so-favorite series.
Welcome to Battle of the Network shows. I'm Mike.
And I'm Rick, I think. Hello, everyone.
Yeah, sorry. I'm not yelling in a British accent for any particular reason.
You're not?
No, I am.
Oh, okay.
Let's go ahead and name the show we're talking about.
Yes, we're going to talk about lifestyles of the rich and famous today.
That's right. We promised this last season, right?
We did, yes. Me and my big mouth. You know, I think I've said earlier this season that I joked that this might be the least interactive season of our podcast after last season being the most interactive. However, we actually have some continued interactivity stemming from last season.
Correct.
So we had an infotainment poll, and Entertainment Tonight won, but it was so close that we decided, well, you know, let's do the right thing and do Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. The just barely lost last time. We'll bring it back and unveil it in this season.
In what turned out to be the Al Massini
poll. Yeah, I guess, the man was ubiquitous in the 80s.
Yeah. So Star Search was the other.
That's right, yes.
It did not get very many stars.
No, Star Search was a distant last place in that poll, I believe.
Yeah. So, yeah, Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. Everyone knows it.
I would think so, but it might seem strange to people that weren't around back then. But it's one of those shows that I don't know. It had a pretty good run, so I'm assuming a lot of people watched it. But you think maybe more people were aware of it. It was big in the pop culture, despite maybe not being the most watched as an actual show program. If that makes sense.
I have two theories about that. One, maybe it was really cheap to make.
Yeah.
I mean, they list camera people, but I feel like, you know, a lot of these things are like local crews and B-roll and stuff that they're kind of assembling into this. Maybe even stuff that Entertainment Tonight did, and they kind of are repurposing in some way.
Sure, yeah.
I could be wrong about that, but I just get that sense, especially given how little Robin Leach is actually on camera.
Yeah.
He seems to go to some locations. I mean, I'm basing this on one episode. But, you know, he's not necessarily doing the heavy lifting.
No.
Behind the scenes. I mean, he's writing, he's executive producing, doing some of the hosting, but, you know, there's that other narrator guy who's...
Yeah, that David Perry, I think, is billed as. Yeah, and he actually... that's one thing that might surprise a lot of people is that you'd expect that Robin Leach is the voice of the program, and I guess he's the on-camera presence, but yeah, the voice of the program is this narrator who's, you know, doing most of the bumpers and narrating most of the segments even.
Right, and making, you know, being rich seem gentle somehow.
Gentle's a good word for it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very benign presence, whereas I don't know if you'd call Robin Leach benign.
My other theory is that maybe stations who had Entertainment Tonight got this as a part of a package.
That could well be.
But there were two spin-offs.
Yeah.
Although one, I guess, didn't last very long. I don't know if either lasted particularly long, but like Runaway with the Rich and Famous.
Yeah, I remember.
I don't remember that. I remember the other one.
Runaway with the Rich and Famous was like travel-oriented.
Yeah.
I think more. What was the other one?
It was another like 3.
Yeah, I don't remember that offhand.
Yeah.
I remember Runaways being on. I read a few like sort of contemporary articles about the show, and it seems like Lifestyles was not exclusive like in many markets. So I think, according to what I read, like in many markets, and that jibes with my memory too.
Yeah.
It might seem like it was ubiquitous because multiple stations could be showing it.
Oh, okay.
So you might see it like at weird times. Like, and the funny thing is, I thought of it as like a classic, maybe Saturday early evening kind of show, or maybe, but. Like at least a couple stations, and I think maybe the one we watched, I think it was on like at 11 or 11:30 at night or something like that, which seems kind of weird. Yeah. Although this one wouldn't have been. Maybe it was on. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like the video with the recording we actually watched. I'm not sure what time they were showing it in that market. But in like New York, apparently they were showing it like late Saturday nights, Sunday evenings, you know, all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, for the city that never sleeps. For the city that never sleeps.
Yes, and the Robin Leach impersonation was ubiquitous as well in the 1980s, you know. But Yeah, that voice, that distinctive voice was everywhere.
Yeah. I don't. I mean, I know I watched it some, but just sort of in passing that it was on. And,
Yeah.
like I watched it enough that watching this, I was like, oh yeah, that's what. Oh yeah, I knew the rhythms of it, but I was probably always watching, hoping to see something just interesting about entertainment, less about the lifestyles.
Yeah.
Or the rich and famous part.
Yeah. Like, I'm not interested about, like, polo at in Monte Carlo or something like
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
I would definitely not have watched that. I find it was a show that was probably hard to avoid, but I don't remember sitting down and watching it.
Yeah.
Maybe if there was a celebrity I was interested in, maybe I'd watch a segment of it.
Right.
But other than that, and it seems like you kind of get it's. I think it's one of those things you probably get all you need to know, or you could get enough from like a 60-second like commercial for it. For
Yeah.
the next episode of Lifestyles, and then you say, okay, you see a few glimpses, and
Caribbean.
yeah.
Yeah.
And like in this episode, they're reusing like shots throughout the whole episode.
Yeah.
So you're probably not missing a whole lot if you just watch like the
Right.
the 60-second condensed version.
Yeah. Especially since it takes the whole episode to get to Joan Collins.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
I think that's the setup for the episode. Antigua, as I don't know, or Antigua, however you want to pronounce it, but
Yeah.
they all say Antigua, so who am I to judge the rich and famous?
Yeah. Even the narrator, and he's
Yes.
is supposed to be neutral.
Right.
So, but I always knew back in the 80s, WWF preliminary wrestler SD Special Delivery Jones was always billed as hailing from Antigua in the West Indies. And if I'm not mistaken, I could have sworn that Robin Leach not only said Antigua at the beginning, but he said Antigua in the West Indie. I didn't hear him say Indies.
He might have the British West Indie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe at that point they only had one Indie left.
It could be.
They let all the other ones go.
The Soul West Indie.
Yeah.
No wonder it's so popular. Oh, yeah. That's quite possible.
Yeah, maybe that's just a British thing.
Maybe, yeah. So yeah, I did not watch this. I mean, there were other, but yeah, it was in syndication. I remember it being on like the New York stations and probably bounced around. Like, I'll tell you one thing, Mike, about the show. There's many episodes. We've been doing this podcast a long time, right?
Yeah.
And there's many podcasts where we both put in a lot of work, as effortless as we make it sound. We do some research, we get information about the show, and we kind of try to do a little bit of a deep dive in it. This is not one of those episodes, I can tell you right now.
Yeah.
Because there's not a whole lot of information out there about lifestyles of the rich and famous.
It didn't seem like it.
No.
I mean, granted, I only went one place, but they didn't have a lot of information.
Yeah. No, I don't see a lot of good like information because I'm curious, and I think it's is like endemic to a lot of like these first run syndicated shows. Like there's just not as much of a trail of information with those for whatever reason. And just they bounced around. They could be on in different time slots and everything like that. So the show, I mean, it was like, I think you go right to like Wikipedia, and it's hard even getting like a fix on when it was on.
Right.
Because there's contradicting information all over the place.
Yeah.
It appears it started in 1984, and it was on into the 90s.
Right.
But it's a little bit murky because I kept seeing like 5 seasons. Like, well, how can it be on for 11 seasons? And then I saw at least one source said it had like 50 some episodes. I think it's like that seems
Only
ridiculous.
50?
I wouldn't be surprised if they did like maybe like a dozen episodes a year and parceled them out and reran the heck out of them.
Right.
But
maybe they cut them into half hours.
yeah, I think they did because I did see some places where it looked like they had half-hour versions of the show.
Yeah.
So again, just all kinds of different versions. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you're waiting for that definitive Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous DVD set,
Right.
don't hold your breath. I don't know if it's happening anytime soon.
Yeah. I mean, it did seem like there were a lot of different cooks in the kitchen at the end of the credits too.
Yes.
Robin Leach. There's Paramount. There's Something.
Yeah, Rep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is that Al Massini's company or something. And then somehow KTLA and PIX were involved too.
Yeah. They were
maybe
like,
production facilities or something.
Yeah. They would have been like Tribune State, owned by the same company. And by the way, I'm wearing my 11 Alive shirt as a tribute to my beloved WPIX.
Yeah.
Although the episode we watched was on WPXI.
Yeah, interesting.
Again, all over the place.
Yeah.
Now, to me, it almost offends my sensibilities that Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous did go on into the 90s because I think of it as a quintessentially 1980s show.
Yeah.
It's like Dynasty, Lifestyle. you associate with like things like Dynasty. And in fact, I think the very first episode had like John Forsythe and Joan Collins is on this episode.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember back when we did Dynasty, I think maybe I just watched it, or maybe it was in our YouTube playlist. There was like a clip of John Forsythe and Linda Evans playing tennis in Monte Carlo.
Yes.
Something like that.
That sounds typical, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, supposedly the 1980s were about, not just greed, but like the aspirational feeling towards, and fascination with the lives of the rich.
Right.
And here's like a nonfiction version of it, I guess. Right?
Yeah. And this might sound weird, but watching this compared to the way that sort of thing, like reality shows of today about rich people and all that, it was sort of quaint.
Yeah.
It's almost just like, I mean, it's not like they're just like us.
Right.
But there's nothing salacious about it.
No.
Now, in those party scenes, is there probably a giant bowl of cocaine right off camera? Yeah.
Quite possibly, yes.
But they're not flaunting that.
No.
Or it's not even like, Joan Collins talks about, she's going to get married again, but it's just in an interview and it's 30 seconds or something. She didn't have to do a whole reality show about it.
Right.
Like Joan Collins finds her next husband or something. Right. And, well, I don't find the, what do we call it? Elevation of the rich even more, and rich and famous even more. I still found that refreshing compared to now.
Yeah, I think something like MTV Cribs or something like that
Yeah.
was a little bit more about like bragging.
Yeah.
And it's become more about like showing off and also just turning these rich people into characters.
Yeah.
Whereas on this show, it's just like, okay, here they are. And I do think there's a determination to show them as like to balance it out and show them like emphasize philanthropy and other things, but also just to show them enjoying life. And the idea is like, hey, this is normal.
Yeah.
People, I mean, maybe he might throw in the word hedonistic.
Right.
Is about as like extreme as it gets.
Yeah.
But it's just like, no, these are just like their vacations, and it's done with like a little bit breathless in the sense of like, yeah, this is amazing. But it's also showing it as just like, okay, this is something to admire, and look at how impressive this is and opulent. But they earned it.
Yeah. And as the founder of the St. James Club says, as long as you can pay your bills, you're welcome to join.
Right. That's right. It doesn't matter, what background you are,
Yes.
as long as you pay up.
That's right. Famous doesn't matter.
Very inclusive. Yes.
I mean, they don't issue credit, but
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. It's interesting. It's the kind of show that I can see like people today, especially, okay, let's call it like it is, like millennials or, but I can see people today saying, oh, man, that show is gross.
Yeah.
I could totally see that word being associated with it. But I go more towards your view, like looking back at it with a perspective is like, man, it does seem almost quaint. It's really not as in your face as I think it could be. And you could certainly make the argument that just showing this and giving a platform to this is definitely putting out a point of view out there. But I think I'll use that word again. I think it's more benign. I think it's more like, okay, here, take a look at it. This is, the lifestyles of the rich and famous. If you're into that, fine. If not, hey, don't watch. But it's not like, I don't think it's real aggressive.
yeah.
I think it's just there. And I do think there's an idea of tapping into that idea of the American dream and giving people sort of a vicarious thrill of watching it. And, maybe it's led to not just like shows about the rich, but, shows on like HGTV and all the, House Hunters, shows like that may, probably stem from this kind of thing, because I don't remember hardly any of that being around before,
No.
This came along in the 1980s.
Right. Now, of course, not on TV, but in different media, print and stuff, this sort of stuff was being covered, whatever, back to the silent era, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's always been a part of the culture, at least since the movies.
Right.
The pictures.
Yes, especially like print media, I would think. And in this episode, there's a reference to Pickfair, the Mary Pickford
That's right.
and Douglas Fairbanks big estate, which would have gotten big coverage in the press, in the fan magazines and things like that. But I do think, I can't remember too many examples of there are some I think like Hollywood close-up kind of shows, like maybe in the 60s and 70s. And this I think takes it to a whole new level.
Do you want to just start talking about it?
Yeah, why don't we? Would you like to know?
As I emailed you, Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous is more dense than a 4-year-old fruitcake.
Ooh.
Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous is so dense it has its own gravity.
I would agree with that, yes.
I also thought of this one that doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous is more dense than a fruitcake in July.
Oh, you know, the more you think about it, maybe,
right.
But yeah, at first glance, I like it. It captures something. Yes.
Yeah.
I think you're onto something with that.
It's like absorbed all the humidity.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
That's what yeah. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff in here. I don't know how deep we need to get into it.
Yeah,
but boy, I was writing a lot of notes.
Yes, and I can tell you that even though it's all over the place, I think this episode does have. Well, we knew an air date from the YouTube uploader.
Yeah.
And that seems reasonable. It was on a Saturday, February 9th, 1985. This episode, as of this recording, it's on YouTube. We'll put it in the playlist, but you can watch it. But I thought I could talk a little bit about what else was on TV that night. On broadcast TV, ABC had T.J. Hooker, The Love Boat, Finder of Lost Loves.
Oh yeah.
NBC had Different Strokes, Double Trouble. If you remember that one, Give Me a Break, It's Your Move, one of my favorites, and Behringer's, a soap opera set at a department store, nighttime soap set at like a big, kind of like a Mr. Selfridge kind of thing, or
right, yeah,
Selfridge or Wanamaker's or something like that.
And that's what about the other hour?
Well, actually, NBC Behringer's was at 10 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
So you had Different Strokes, Double Trouble, Give Me a Break, It's Your Move,
Behringer's.
Right. So there's 4 sitcoms.
I can't do math.
So many. Well,
I thought they were all 15 minutes.
Yes. Well.
1 hour of
That's one thing they didn't experiment with at that point. I think Cosby an A-Team had come along and saved them from having to resort to that at this point. CBS had an interesting night. Otherworld at 8 p.m.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is the show with Gretchen Corbett and I think Tony O'Dell from Head of the Class. Like some family that
he's like their teenage son.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was got some talk a few years ago on our Facebook group.
Yes, kind of an interesting premise to that show, but didn't last very long.
Yeah.
And then a couple of Saturday night CBS staples, at least it feels like to me. Airwolf and Mickey Spillane's Mike Hammer.
Oh, yeah.
Also on this night, Harry Anderson hosted Saturday Night Live. And on TBS, it was All-Star Saturday. So they had the NBA Legends game and the Slam Dunk contest.
Yeah.
They did not have the three-point contest until the next year, apparently.
Right.
But Dominique Wilkins won the Slam Dunk contest this year, besting young Michael Jordan. And Julius Erving was in it. And
yep.
So I think probably considered one of the best Slam Dunk contests ever. But
well, I watched many of the shows you've mentioned, but I know what I was watching this time.
The Slam Dunk?
Yeah. And that. Yeah. And the what are they called? The Legends game. Yeah. Is that what they call it? Not the old timers game.
Yeah, the Legends is a little bit nicer.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was February Saturday on television. And after all this, in some markets, you might watch Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous.
That's right.
Unwind.
Yeah. So you could... He doesn't say it in this episode, let's just say. He does not mention the champagne wishes and caviar dreams.
Yes, the catchphrase, yeah. I was a little disappointed.
But maybe people still have them. They watched this and then they went to bed dreaming of caviar.
Yeah.
Fish eggs.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that. It doesn't really seem to me like a late night show, even though it was on it seems to me more like a weekend afternoon kind of show. But
like a fill in the slot.
Yeah, yeah. It is dense.
Yes.
It's not necessarily the deepest or most profound kind of programming.
No.
So maybe it is the kind of thing you might want to watch at 11:30.
But they cram a lot in.
They sure do, yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of commercials too.
Yes. Which were in this clip, which was nice.
Yes.
And in fact, the clip begins with some commercials. They never once did a commercial repeat the whole time. I think one product got repeated, but...
That's an excellent point, Mike. I hadn't made note of that. But yeah, back then that was common. And there was a big diversity of advertisers too. Yeah.
So the clip starts at the very end of an advertisement for the Village Inn Ski Lodge near Pittsburgh. And that's what we're... PXI was a Pittsburgh channel. Correct? Yeah. And then there was a Jif peanut butter commercial where a lot of these had this, the person on camera speaking to the voiceover person. There was a comparison of Jif and generic peanut butter, and the generic peanut butter kept shrinking as they talked about the qualities of Jif, like being sealed while it's hot. Nestle Crunch, I definitely remembered that commercial. It's like a traffic cop singing, and then a dog walker, and then Kareem Abdul-Jabbar pops out of a limousine.
Yeah.
I bet he never ate a Nestle Crunch.
No, it didn't seem like something he would really partake in. But I do like ads where celebrities show up like in the middle of the ad.
Yeah.
Like it's not built around them necessarily, but it builds up to them.
Yeah. and I mean, that was clever because it was all kind of one urban scene.
Yeah.
And, I guess he was stuck in traffic and popped out.
Yeah.
Sang a little bit and bit into his Nestle Crunch.
That's why I love Nestle Crunch. That was a cool jingle. I love that one back in the day. And I love that candy bar back in the day, too.
That's a good candy bar.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, if the component parts are great, but it all adds up to something.
I agree.
And so then we get the introduction from Robin Leach. So this is why the density surprised me, because he kind of introduces just three things. We're in Antigua at the St. James Club and in the British West Indies. And, we're going to talk to Joan Collins, Liza Minnelli, and Ann-Marget about it. Okay, that seems like a show.
Yeah.
And then the actual opening, which is what you'd expect, a montage of, champagne and yachts and babes. And
I believe a Bill Conti theme song.
Bill Conti theme song, yes.
Which,
from a movie.
Is appropriate.
Yeah. And, airplanes and parasailing and rich stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Famous stuff.
Yeah.
People having a good time. And then the voiceover guy comes on and starts rattling all this off this other stuff. Roger Moore on the set of the latest 007, Charlene Tilton, Lloyd's of London.
Yeah.
And their disaster log in the wacky world of insurance.
I had never heard that phrase before.
No. The nightclub queen and Esther Williams. And that's not all.
No. It's quite a show.
Yeah.
It's like, piggybacking on what Robin Leach already promised us.
All right.
It's pretty impressive.
And then we have some more commercials. Weirdly erotic ketchup commercial.
Okay, that's not something I had picked up on, but
I don't know. It was just weird. I don't even like ketchup.
Oh, I love ketchup.
Yeah. And Heinz is the thick, rich one.
Yes, it is, and that was a good jingle too. It's a very earnest jingle.
Yeah.
Heinz is the thick, rich one. Yes.
Yeah, and then Comtrex. That's all you need. Nothing else.
Yes, in stark contrast to something that comes up later.
Yeah.
Where you're encouraged to take an aspirin along with it.
Yes.
It's like, well, why would I do that if I just took Comtrex?
Yeah.
I can take care of everything.
That's right.
So I was not impressed by Comtrex.
Mm-hmm. And the National Dairy.
Yeah, it's a nice ad. I think this is the one with just like a woman swimming.
Yeah.
And
It seemed to me like to be appealing to that sort of, without saying it, but like the osteoporosis kind of. I feel like talk of that was becoming more prevalent around then.
That's true, yeah. And like the benefit of calcium.
Yes, calcium.
Not just like dairy, but yeah, healthy, fresh, natural, dairy products.
That's right. And then a classic 9 Lives, Morris the cat.
Yeah, Morris rules.
Morris.
I always liked Morris.
Yeah.
And this might have been towards the end of his run, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he gets lured away from a fish tank by Fisherman Stew.
Yeah.
So that must be some good stuff. Good stuff.
Sounds good.
Yeah, Fisherman Stew.
And I'm not 100% sure, but I think June Foray was playing the cat mom.
You know what?
The off
Oh,
camera.
good catch. I don't know. I hadn't caught that.
It was good to see Morris.
Mm-hmm.
His dulcet tones.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, Morris should have been one of the rich and famous by now. He had
Should have been. Yeah.
a great run on television. Hopefully, he had good management and kept his money.
How did they not do that? Lifestyles of the rich and famous pets.
Now there would be something I would.
Yeah.
I'd probably sit down and watch.
Wait a
all
second.
Of
I think I read there was a Garfield and Friends episode about that.
Oh, really?
That Robin Leach appeared on.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued.
Yes.
All right, I'm making a note of that one.
And then we're back at the show and talking to Charlene Tilton at her fabulous mansion.
Yes, Charlene Tilton, we talked about on the Dallas episode last season, was it?
That's right. She's no longer on Dallas. She's been asked to leave because of a format change.
Yeah,
I don't know what that was about.
I didn't remember the circumstances of that.
Yeah.
I was kind of curious, but format change seems like a weird excuse to get rid of somebody.
But she's a single mom. She's having a good life in this house she visited as a child and wanted to have, and eventually had the money to buy it.
Good for her.
Yeah.
And was married to Johnny Lee, the country singer who sang "Looking for Love in All the Wrong Places," I think. Which I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I didn't remember that.
And she wants to make I don't know if she ever made it, but make a Mary Pickford movie.
Well, wife of the show, Lori, looked that up and came to the conclusion that it was never actually produced.
No.
Sadly.
Well, she was all in. She bought all this stuff at auction from Pick Fair, as you mentioned. I hope Jerry Buss wasn't disappointed.
Yes.
Dr. Jerry Buss, excuse me. He didn't get to have these outfits. And I didn't even show her. She's wearing one of the outfits.
Yeah. She used the same dress size, I think
Yes.
they said, as Mary Pickford.
Right.
Well, one thing that I think that I liked about this segment, which is one of those things that, like, it sort of came off as a slam, but I'm sure it wasn't meant that way. But they talk about her recording career and how she had a single that was big in Europe.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, yeah, on the face of it, that's a good thing, but by implication, it was not big here.
Yeah. And, you know, there's scenes of her with her baby, like roller skating with her on the tennis court. That's what she uses it for. And the baby's in a stroller. Baby's not roller skating. But
it looked like a great place.
Yeah.
The tennis court was impressive.
And it's near a beach.
Yeah.
She goes to read her Bible there. And,
Yeah. Nice contemplative moments on the
yeah.
beach.
And then I liked it that, like, every segment has a little title at the end. And I liked it. Changing Lifestyles. I guess it was just changing, really. But
yes. You come away thinking, you know, Charlene Tilton's in a really good place.
yeah.
She comes off very, very affable and,
Yeah.
you know, shows some slight vulnerability, you know, just by getting booted from Dallas. But yet inspirational. She turns it into, like you said, like she's not down about it. She's looking forward to her next stages in life.
Yeah. And then Robin Leach is at the St. James Club in Antigua, and he, you know, explains the history of it, which is that the first St. James Club was in London. It's a hotel where famous people can go. You kind of belong to it, and you can have your privacy. But many of the members had told this guy, Peter de Savory, the founder, that they wanted someplace, because in London they're always doing stuff, you know, busy meeting people and shopping and doing whatever, you know, going to plays.
Yeah, what a tough life.
Yeah. They need someplace to really relax. So he decided to open this Caribbean place. And, you know, as we said, it's as long as you can pay, you can go to this club, hotel, resort that is discreetly opulent.
Yeah, I like that phrase too. Discreetly opulent.
And rooms range from $600 to $1,000 a night, which honestly seems, I don't know, me. It would still be, I wouldn't want to pay that for a hotel room now, but those were not the numbers I expected.
No, if it includes all those amenities.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if they nickel and dime you.
Yeah, I don't know if it's all inclusive or just.
Yeah. Probably not.
That might be too chintzy for the rich and famous.
Yeah, I don't know.
Inclusive.
If you would have,
I don't need buffets.
Joan Collins, like digging shrimp out of a big bowl in the middle of the table.
And Michael York, the meatballs are delicious tonight. They flew them in from Sweden.
Yeah. Or just going by the omelet station and ordering a custom made omelet.
Right.
You know, in line with like 6 other people.
Yeah. But you could because it's so discreet and private that if you're Joan Collins or let's say Ann-Marget and you like some kind of weird omelet.
Yeah.
Then, you know, no one else would want. You can order it here because you know they're not going to leak it to the tabloids.
That's an excellent point.
You can get your, you know, I'm trying to think of a weird omelet. I don't know. You're like cheesecake omelet.
Yeah. Yeah, why not?
Are you sure, Miss Margaret? Miss-Margaret?
Yeah.
You want cheesecake in your omelet? Yes.
Yeah. And I'll bet at a place like the St. James Club, the second time you go through, you don't even have to ask for the cheesecake omelet.
That's right, they know.
Yeah. Pierre is got it prepared for you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but any age, any nationality, whatever, you can go. They show a little bit of this clip from this party, and you see Joan Collins and Michael York and John Mills and Ann-Marget and Liza, and
a very old guard type of celebrity.
Exactly.
You know, for 1985, you know, whatever. This not exactly, you know, the Brat Pack.
No.
But just kind of more of an older Hollywood type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And coming up, a wild party, and Julio Iglesias. He wasn't even mentioned up front.
You're right. Yeah, just a little surprise there.
Yeah, a few more commercials. This first one, for the supermarket Giant Eagle.
Yeah,
which still exists or in some form in Maryland and Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's called Giant, but a different Giant than the Giant we have here.
Yeah, I always was familiar with Giant Eagle commercials. They were a big sponsor of like Pittsburgh Pirates baseball.
Okay.
But they didn't come as far out my direction.
Yeah.
So I didn't have Giant Eagle, but
I know there's one in Frederick.
Yeah. But this is a very bizarre ad.
This guy is so intense.
I think it's actor Robert Lansing, I believe, who was on 12 O'Clock High.
Uh-huh.
I think that's him. But yeah, it's just him explaining, pricing philosophies to you.
And he seems kind of angry.
Yeah.
The basic thing, if, deals at supermarkets mean that other things are priced higher, and you're not really getting deals in a Giant Eagle, the new Giant Eagle, excuse me. They're not robbing Peter to pay Paul. That was the whole gist of it. They have a minimum price, but he's just, it's like an extreme close up, and he's just looking at you.
Yeah. I guess he was angry on behalf of us, but
yeah,
there once or twice I wasn't quite sure. You're right. It was intense. And it's funny because like the Giant Eagle commercials that I remember were like basically like with a jingle, like it takes a giant to make life simple, okay. Giant Eagle, so simple for you, fee, fi, fo, fum. And there's this like, so like fee, fi, fo, fum. It's like, look out savings, here we come. That's the Giant Eagle campaign I remember.
Yeah.
Not, this old dude like, almost threatening me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was very, very stark, kind of interesting ad. But
yeah, and then there's a cool one for the Channel 11 sports team. A lot of just a montage and some sort of slogan. What you need to know, all you need to know.
Yeah, I think that was it, and not a whole lot of like local promos on this. Yeah, they were legit selling advertising for this.
Yeah, you would think this thing would be full of local promos.
Yeah, totally.
And then a Midas muffler break place where people are off. They're leaving on their honeymoon in the woman's Corvette or Camaro, and the brakes go, and they got to go to Midas.
Not the place I would want to spend my wedding night, but
that's not where she wanted to either. But they did a great job.
They did, yes.
Yeah. And then we're back to the show and this Lloyd's of London thing, and they explain Lloyd's of London insures all these high risk things like Betty Grable, Rita Hayworth, and Angie Dickinson's legs, and there's some history that it goes back to like shipping. And I don't know. I was kind of fascinated by the building. It's like a giant bullpen.
Yeah.
They also insured Liz Taylor's eyes and Christopher Reeve during the Superman movies. And then Martin Leach, no relation, I guess.
Yeah, it seemed odd to show him and not address that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so it started like in the 1700s. There was a coffee house, and Lloyd, I guess, wanted just started getting shipping news, and people could insure things based on the risk. But they still log all the bad news they hear in a book with a quill pen. The quill pen, he says, which I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that same quill would still.
No, that's one.
The life of a quill is only 10, 15 years
That's right.
at the most. It's not like quill technology has changed because it's from a bird.
You're a little skeptical.
I'm a little skeptical.
Yeah, I think so too.
But maybe they've insured that quill.
Well, that could be. So either way, they're covered.
Yeah. And I don't know. It seemed weird. It seemed like it was almost like it's a club or something. Like there was something about, to insure something, you only need $100,000 of personal wealth and agree to take on unlimited liability. But I don't know who these, who that, like you come in and like, I want to insure Betty Grable's legs.
Uh-huh.
And, you're just some guy. As long as you have the money to do.
Yeah, I guess, I think...
Lloyd's is taking on the unlimited liability. That's right. The high risk.
I think they've changed things. I think they used to do a lot of that stuff kind of like for publicity and for fun. Here's another pro wrestling reference. Years ago, they used to they became famous for insuring professional wrestlers. And a lot of wrestlers cashed in, I think in a relatively short period of time, and they stopped doing it.
Yeah.
Because they were sitting out to collect their insurance, but they weren't really, I don't want to say anything, but they would often wrestle after their settlement, expired. Mm-hmm. They'd go back to the ring,
Yeah.
Which uncanny timing.
Mm-hmm.
So they stopped doing it, and I think they stopped doing some of the more showy insurings, like Betty Grable's legs and stuff like that. So I don't know if they still do any of that stuff anymore.
I thought you were going to say there was a British wrestler named Lloyd of London.
There should have been.
Yeah. Took on high-risk opponents.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
And then there's this profile of Julio Iglesias. That was nice.
Yeah, kind of a forgotten superstar of the 1980s.
Yeah.
Our 2 to 11-year-old listeners may not remember that Julio Iglesias was a superstar.
Yes.
And he was the go-to for a figure of romance.
Yeah.
For a couple of years there, right?
Yes, he was. The 2 to 11 years will get this reference. He was the Rudolph Valentino of his day.
Exactly. Yes.
But yeah, he was a big star in Europe and South America, I assume. And then he broke through with his duet with Willie, Willie Nelson, to All the Girls I Loved Before.
I think he parlayed that into maybe like 3 or 4 years of some success on the American charts, pop charts, and probably after that, I'm assuming, kind of receded to just being an international superstar, and was never again that big a star, I think, here. But no,
his son is a big star now.
That's right, Enrique.
Enrique, yes. But he was determined to learn English so that he could do that crossover to the U.S. And he did, and they show him duetting with Diana Ross and hanging out with friends like Heather Thomas and Ursula Andress and Audrey Landers.
What friend?
Yeah.
He had a type, I guess, a
yeah.
friendship that he liked, huh?
Yes. His secret, I think it was his secret to life, but maybe a secret to singing to communication.
Yeah.
And he's got homes in Madrid and Mallorca and Tahiti and Argentina and Bel Air and Miami, where his Miami home was designed so that there's furniture where he can fall asleep in any room, in any place, at any time.
That stood out to me, yes.
Yes.
It was a specific instruction he gave,
Yeah.
according to the voiceover, that he wanted a place where he could fall asleep anywhere, hence the numerous beds and comfy surfaces, things like that. Oh, okay.
Right. Yeah.
All right. You're okay.
He's known for napping.
Yes. The man whose big hit was To All the Girls I've Loved Before.
Yes.
Okay. I'm just clarifying that.
To all the girls I've loved on the patio.
Yes.
In the bathroom. I don't know if the bathrooms had places to sleep, but
they
said every room.
Said every room. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised.
The kitchen. And they talk about. I didn't know in the late 70s his father was kidnapped by Spanish revolutionaries.
No, that was alarming. I don't know that either.
And then they show his birthday party in Atlantic City, his 41st birthday party.
Wow. Yeah. No comment.
And then more coming up. More stuff. This Regina? I already forgot how to pronounce it.
Yes, I think Regine.
Yeah.
Regine's, was it like the chain? But I could be wrong. I was not familiar with her, I must admit.
No, apparently we should be.
As much as I've dabbled in the jet set,
Uh-huh.
following the jet set, mind you, not being part of it. But
Yeah.
Regine was not somebody in my wheelhouse.
And then some more commercials. Gordon Jump.
Yeah.
In a Secret for Women commercial.
Gordon Jump just being, just some guy.
Yeah.
Here's Gordon Jump for... No, it wasn't Here's Gordon Jump for Secret.
No.
It was like, here's Dad.
Here's Dad.
Talking to his daughter about Secret.
Yeah.
And, doing a great job, it should be said.
Of course, yeah.
He's great in it.
Yeah. And whoever plays the daughter is great.
Yeah, it was a good ad.
The old, get strong enough for a man, but made for a woman.
Mm-hmm.
pH balanced and everything.
Yes.
I mean, they showed put the little piece of paper in their hand and squeezed it, and there is different pH.
And if you're going to get somebody to sort of challenge things a little bit and just say, men and women, we perspire this. Everybody perspires the same.
Yeah.
And he would be the guy.
Yeah.
He's wrong, though, as we find out.
Yes, of course.
Men and women do not perspire the same. But
regardless of what Old Spice is telling you these days.
Hey, I don't want to get into the deodorant wars here.
No, I know.
That's a big...
different time. Maybe the science has changed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's this whole thing, this guy in breathless voiceover talking about his girlfriend or his wife, and she's riding a horse and she's got blonde hair and this and that, and
I thought he was talking about the horse at first. It's like, this is I love Sue, she's so beautiful.
Right.
And I expect him to say, and this woman takes care of her and keeps her looking so
Yeah.
beautiful. But no, he's talking about the woman, not the
Yeah.
horse. The horse had luxurious hair
Right.
too, though. It must be said.
Maybe the woman used the same ivory shampoo and conditioner on the horse.
I wouldn't be surprised. Strong enough for a horse, but made for a woman.
Not fancy, just fabulous.
Yeah, that's right. Not fancy,
Yeah.
just fabulous.
And you already mentioned this.
The Sucrets, yeah.
Yes, that's right. If you have a sore throat and some cold fevers, doctors recommended aspirin and Sucrets.
Yeah, take an aspirin for all the other symptoms.
Yeah.
But for the throat stuff, the Sucrets, you're good with that.
Yeah.
I love that. And they show a picture of like a generic bottle of aspirin next to the Sucrets, reinforcing that, you need both of them.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, did they have people complaining that like, hey, Sucrets, is not doing anything for my, my headache?
My throat's great.
Yeah. I guess there was an expectation. So if they didn't come out and say it,
Right.
that there was an expectation that Sucrets was going to be like Comtrex and take care of everything.
Yeah. Maybe the Sucrets people had applied to the FDA for a combined Sucret aspirin product and gotten rejected. And so they were just like, well, we'll just tell people to use both.
Yeah. Focus
And
on
hopefully they'll buy our brand of,
right.
and
they
aspirin.
could save money by buying some generic aspirin.
Yeah.
And and spend for the Sucrets, but to me that still seems like the Comtrex is the better value. But if the Sucrets is really good, I don't know.
Now, would you want the Which would you want to take first in terms of taste?
Oh,
would you want the chalky, slightly citrus aspirin or the sort of
soothing,
cherry?
Yeah, the soothing menthol flavor. Was it menthol flavored? I don't know.
I think they had. I remember cherry ones, but I think they probably had a menthol or some sort of more medicinal one.
I'm not a big cherry flavor fan, but I would probably do the aspirin first and then take the Sucrets as the chaser.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what about the rich and famous? Do the rich and famous worry about this kind of thing? Or are they just taking whatever pills are pushed in front of them?
I think so. Yeah. They might have a Sucrets tin to keep those pills in.
They've got a guy on call that will, give them Sucrets whenever they need it.
That's right.
So they can just back in the 80s, you just walk in anywhere into the St. James Club, and it would be discreet.
Yeah.
But somebody would be handing you Sucrets like right as you walked in the door, probably.
Right. Well, some of the crazy celebrities would crush the aspirin and Sucrets together. And,
well, that was pushing it a little bit.
Yeah.
But you could do that kind of thing. I'm not judging.
Yeah.
At a place like St. James Club, just do whatever you want.
Whatever you want. They have a whole warehouse of Sucrets.
Yeah. And you'd feel like a god for 15 minutes with that rush from the Sucrets and the aspirin.
Yeah.
But there'd be a price to pay for that though later, mind you.
Yeah.
But fortunately, if you're in St. James Club, you can pay that price probably.
Yeah.
You can afford it.
Yeah. I mean, as long as you don't ask them for credit.
No, that's the one thing. That's the one thing.
If you have, a tin of Sucrets, surely marked up.
Yeah.
Champagne flavored Sucrets.
Yeah.
And you can't pay for it. You got to wash dishes.
Yeah. Wow.
And probably, if you're coming from London or somewhere to the West Indies, you might have just all those weather changes might affect you. You might need a Sucret.
You could have a little something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think so. It'd probably be good to have a well-stocked pharmacy of sorts probably there.
Yeah.
You'd have a guy that could hook you up. But yes, it'd be very gauche to ask for credit, even on something like Sucrets. You just wouldn't do that. I would hope not.
And then we learn about this Regine, speaking of French, this French nightclub lady who, I don't know, I didn't understand a lot of what she said.
No, neither did I. I'm glad I'm not the only one.
I think maybe during the war she was singing or something and dreamed of having her own club.
Yes,
and
that sounds about right.
Has, what is it, like 17 of them, or in three countries or 3 continents, 17 cities.
Or was it 3 clubs in 17 countries?
3, yeah.
she they had some temporary clubs, that they would move.
Right.
Pop-up clubs.
Pop-up clubs.
She revolutionized that concept.
Yeah. And get to see all these kind of celebrities at I think mostly this club in Miami, but Anthony Quinn, Barbara Walters talking to Rupert Murdoch.
Yeah.
Print mogul.
Print mogul Rupert Murdoch, yes. Yes. What a scene that was. A younger Rupert Murdoch.
Yeah.
Producer Alan Carr.
Alan Carr. Julio keeps popping up in these things.
Yeah.
There were a couple, a former governor and the current governor at the time of New Jersey.
Oh, yeah. Tom Keene and
Hugh Carey.
Hugh Carey, New York, governor of New York, yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at them like, Hugh Grant, Harry Carey? What is this? Yeah, and later, Jane Seymour. I'm going to not do these in the order they appeared in the show. Jane Seymour, Calvin Klein, and Harry Reasoner.
Yeah, whoa. Boy.
It's a hopping scene when Harry Reasoner's there.
That's right.
In 1985.
I can only imagine being a starstruck civilian going into a club and wondering, am I in the right? Oh, Harry Reasoner's here. Yeah. Okay, this is exactly where we want to be.
I was afraid it was just going to be morally safer.
Yeah.
And she's got an expensive phone bill because she's got to call all her clubs.
Yeah, but it looks like she has a nice fleet of attendants to primp her.
Yes.
And present her with phones.
Yeah. Brush her mullet.
Yeah. Yeah, she is not only catering to the rich and famous, but she is part of that life.
That's right, and she parties with everyone else.
Yeah.
Even at the end of the night, she has to put her feet into buckets of ice.
Yeah.
The ultimate hostess. And then Roger Moore on the set of View to a Kill in Fisherman's Wharf in San Francisco, showing off his sense of humor.
Boy, as Lori said to me, that man is all charm, Rick.
Well, being Bond keeps him off the streets. But now it's got him on the streets of San Francisco. Pun intended.
Yeah. Streets of San Francisco.
Yeah.
Isn't that a show?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a TV show of its own. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And he does some other little jokes and signs autographs, and his wife Louisa is there, and Tanya Roberts, his co-star, talks about the difference between blondes and brunettes.
Yeah.
Why she went blonde.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting interlude.
Yeah, and acting with Roger, and then we meet director John Glenn,
who seems to be kind of stressed out about the budget.
Yeah,
I mean,
it would be.
I mean, he's actually got a lot riding in this movie. It seems like.
Yeah. But Roger's a true pro. Supposedly does most of his stunts.
Yeah, and we looked up. He was like in his late 50s. I think like 58 or 59 at the time.
Was that the last one he did?
This was the last Roger Moore Bond, yes.
Yeah, okay.
And I do remember it being a thing where people suggesting that he was way too old for the part at this point.
And they ask him if he has a lifestyle that mirrors Bond, or maybe he asks that. And he just makes some jokes about carrying a Colt instead of a Walther. I think that's what he said.
Yes.
And only driving 120.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally everything he says in this segment is done in a wry manner with a twinkle in his eye.
Yes.
And I'm all here for it.
He's got to wait and see about Bond. He's just like, interesting point. At the end of the movie, it always says James Bond will return, not whoever the star is.
It doesn't say Roger Moore will return.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. And we would see what would happen to Roger Moore, but it comes off, very nice. And they show him like posing with fans apparently, and just comes off as a great guy in this segment. So it's a very good segment for Roger Moore.
Yes. Coming up, Esther Williams and a soap queen who's also an ambassador's wife, or has something to do with an ambassador.
Yes.
We don't know yet.
Yes. Oh, yes.
And then that party in Antigua. It's coming.
It's still raging.
Yeah.
Don't worry, it's not going anywhere. It's not like Regine's floating clubs.
No.
This party is going on all week.
And there's a McDonald's fries commercial. Buy any large sandwich with the large fries, you get 30% extra fries.
You know what? That would make me feel more rich and famous if I got more fries. It's like, hey, how about some extravagance for me? I'm going to go down to McDonald's after watching this. I may not go to the St. James Club tonight, but I'm going to go to McDonald's and get more fries.
Yeah. And to quote people we know, that's when the fries were good. They sure looked good.
They did, yeah.
And then some colored tinted contacts, supposedly blend with your natural color to look natural.
They didn't look natural at all to me.
No,
they look striking, but not natural.
No. And new Era Plus, now with more protein power. Get everything clean.
Yeah.
And do you remember these commercials? Because they'd have a stain and then they write words in the stain with the Era.
That's right, yeah. And with the protein, you can drink it in the morning too, and get a nice energy boost for whatever you're going to accomplish later.
That's right, and clean out the stains in your intestinal tract.
I can see why they left that part out of it.
Right.
It's a nice benefit, but you got to look in the back of the package.
Yeah.
They're not going to advertise that on TV.
No. Then, is this the lady from Too Close for Comfort?
It is the great Nancy Dussault.
Yes, for Revco, and their prices are dropping.
Yes, and I believe she was on Night of 100 Stars too. Now that I think about it, and one of the TV medley.
Could be, yeah.
Well, we'll look that up, but yes. But the big story here is Revco.
Yeah.
Which, boy, Revco was never in my area, but I think they released some baseball card sets that would come in little boxes. They would remember when they would do that. So you get like 60 like all-star cards with like the Revco name on it. So that's how I knew about Revco, but I think they were bought out before they came into my area. Or I don't know what happened to them. Maybe bought out by Rite Aid or somebody. I don't think they're still around.
No, they're not.
But they were big back then.
Yeah.
But their prices were not. They were dropping.
That's right. And do you think they held a contest every year
For
the 50,000th customer?
They might
get some
have.
free Sucrets and aspirin.
Yeah. Just go in there with a big hammock and
Yep.
and get all the Sucrets and aspirin you can fit in there.
Yeah.
And they'd probably be falling through the holes in the hammock, though.
Oh, yeah.
That might not be a good strategy.
Yeah. But whatever you had left, you could sell to the St. James.
Yeah.
Smuggle them in. There's a real estate segment, and they show this quote-unquote townhouse in New York City.
Yeah.
It looks huge. I mean, they show the dining room or something, and it's like this looks like the lobby of a student union.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, if I recall correctly, they're almost like apologizing and like putting it in context for it being in New York City as to why it's so small. But it didn't look small at all, really, for like a townhouse or, so-called townhouse in New York City.
No.
You're right. It looked very spacious.
Yeah, only $3.5 million.
Ugh, nice place, though.
By today's prices, that doesn't seem
outrageous. I can only imagine what that would be today. I'm not going to look it up. That's why I'm saying I can only imagine. I'm not going to look it up.
No. And then Beverly Hills and Esther Williams.
Yes, we go to the old Hollywood segment of the show.
I kind of like this segment. It was nice.
Yeah, Esther Williams comes off very charming. It gives you a little overview of her career.
Yeah, she became a businesswoman after her acting career, because she had common sense and all swimming related things.
Yeah,
or started out, but her pool company was then had gotten the contract to do the scaffolding for the Statue of Liberty repairs.
I kind of wanted to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah,
it's like, how did that happen?
Right. She talks about her husband Fernando Lamas, who had passed away, kind of dealing with that, and the fact that he asked her to retire from acting. She seems okay with that.
Yeah, she does.
And I mean, she had the sense to know that swimming musicals were not going to be a long-lasting genre of movie.
Yeah. She was very smart, it seems like. And it's a good reminder that Fernando Lamas is a real person.
And a quote-unquote full-time job.
Yeah. I believe it.
And she says some nice things about Lorenzo and how she's helping him deal with fame.
Mm-hmm. Lorenzo with a very 80s look there. And I believe he was wearing one glove on one hand. It was like a cut-off glove. He may have had on both hands, but I think he just had on one hand the Michael Jackson.
But it wasn't like a golf glove.
It was missing fingers, I believe.
Okay.
I might have to go to the videotape on that, but you really see it when he turned away. He had a female companion, and he sort of pivoted a little bit at the end of the segment. That was my big takeaway from Lorenzo Lamas' discussion. Okay. And he had some interesting sunglasses too.
One of her kids and husband and grandchild are living with her, and they're having a great time. Oh, and she's got a baby swimming video out.
Mm-hmm. Seems like a good idea, actually.
Yeah. And coming up next, that lady at the U.S. Embassy in Mexico City, and of course Antigua. It's coming.
Really, I hope so. I'm anxious to get in there. I was satiated a little bit by the glimpse of Harry Reasoner, but I want to get back to the partying. Now Harry Reasoner wasn't enough. It was fleeting.
And then we get a mostly medical-based commercial break here. Unisom, the sleep aid. If you can't sleep, take some Unisom.
Yeah, I didn't remember this product at all.
Sort of did. Ocean Spray, the magic of cran apples and cran grape, cran apple, all that. Juice boxes. Dexatrim for weight loss.
Very popular back then.
Yes, so I think we had a downer and then an upper.
Yes. That's right.
But it helped people like Rusty Wilson and Robin Lennon.
Yeah.
So
real people.
And then nice also for sore throats. They don't mention aspirin in this one.
No, I guess that needs no aspirin.
But it feels slickery.
Yes. I think it has an apostrophe in the title.
Yeah, for the I.
Yeah. Nice.
And then a classic Aquafresh toothpaste commercial. I loved seeing. Girls got 3 different toothpaste piled on top of each other. Of course, in perfect curls that you could never get with real toothpaste.
Right.
And then they show a display where the 3 toothpaste merge into one.
Yeah.
Aquafresh.
Magic. Again, definitely an emphasis on household products. Mm-hmm. Household and medical over-the-counter medical stuff in this episode, but still, like we said, a good range of products advertised here.
And of course, if you're rich and famous, you can afford to have 3 toothpastes.
Yeah, you wouldn't need a 3-in-1. You're right.
No.
You could probably just have them all presented to you and just pick one and just throw the other 2 toothbrushes away with the toothpaste on them.
Yes.
Just have whatever one you want that day.
That's right. I just want the red.
Yeah, I'm not feeling green toothpaste today.
So back on the show, this woman is Constance Tower, an actress from the soap opera Capital, which I don't remember at all.
I think it was on CBS, but yeah, I did.
Washington-based.
I remember it like from seeing ads or something, but I don't really remember it being a thing either.
Yeah, but she's splitting her time between her home in Century City and the embassy and the ambassador's home in Mexico City. I think they said our 3rd largest embassy.
Yeah, that kind of surprised me a little bit. Yeah. But John Gavin, actor, Reagan buddy, I guess.
Yeah, every ambassador is an actor.
Yeah, I think so.
But she spends about 3 days a week filming, and then she goes down to Mexico. And other than the occasional flight delay, it's tough, but she does it.
She makes it work.
Yeah, and then the big thing is she's been remodeling both of the homes, really supervising this. Canopy beds. Make sure I have a lot of pictures around. And there's like in Mexico, they kind of redid the whole house and made it more modern. And through some grant, a $3 million art collection.
Yeah, she was quite proud of that. Again, kind of going on with that 80s aesthetic of, glamming up the White House or glamming up United States, buildings and properties.
Yeah.
It seems a little extravagant, but that was the style back then.
It was, yeah. That was interesting. I didn't know about this lady.
Yeah, Lori did not like this segment at all. She was bored by it, I believe. And I'll say,
it went on.
Yeah, back in the 80s, this interior design centric segment of the show would not have appealed to me very much.
What about her helping the chef out?
Well, that was admirable. Yes. Yeah. She's diving right in there.
No salt or sugar.
Yeah.
I guess John Gavin had some health problems.
Yeah, poor John Gavin.
Yeah. But you heard that. You would hear that in the 80s, like people who visited the Mexican embassy. The food was okay, but there was no salt or sugar.
Yeah.
What are they thinking?
Quite bland, yes.
They tease the Antigua party again. And then there's some sort of Pittsburgh commercial. Buyer's Bonanza. Oh, Pittsburgh Chevy. Buyer's Bonanza. They're getting all sorts of Chevys in.
Yeah. Tons of Chevys available.
Some local business saluting a disabled athlete.
Yeah.
I got the impression maybe they, do prosthetics and things like that. Mm-hmm. Some Gleam toothpaste with calcium P. And then, classic, George Michael's sports machine.
Yeah.
Of course, came from the D.C. area.
Right. And syndicated to different stations and get your highlights.
A lot of emphasis in this commercial on technology.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. Like indicating the sports machine was an actual machine.
Yeah. Yes, George Michael was merely the human representation of the overlord sports machine that organized all the highlights.
But that was a fun surprise because I thought it was going to be another commercial for the local sports.
Yeah. And again, like a big deal. Sports Machine was a big deal back in the pre-24/7 cable society. Getting your sports highlights. It was kind of, sports from all around the country, not just your 7-minute segment on the local news.
And I mean, and to get them from an international superstar.
Yeah. Yes. Boy, WPXI did really well, but their competitor KDK, they had to settle for Andrew Ridgely's Sports Machine, which was
well dressed, but
ultimately kind of empty.
And then a quick promo for the next Lifestyles. I guess it's the next one, or just a episode.
Yeah.
An episode. Raquel Welch, Billy D. Williams, The Italian Riviera with Jacqueline Z. And what was the other thing? Oh, celebrities with dual careers. They showed it Sonny Bono, someone else. And something about fortune being the final frontier. And then we get this party finally. It's got steel drums, calypso music, champagne, of course.
Put me right in the mood.
Yeah, $100,000 worth of food, 2 days to prepare it.
Ooh,
I saw a lot of shrimp.
Yeah, I bet there's awful lot of shrimp.
And Joan Collins walking on the beach with her fiance Peter Holm, and Liza's there with her then husband Mark Jarrow. There's also a music producer. Ann-Marget's there with her husband Roger Smith, and Robin Leach talks to Joan Collins about her engagement. She seems very sincere. She wants it to work out. Mm-hmm. I'm guessing it didn't.
No, it didn't. It didn't. I think her current husband, if he's still around, that lasted a lot longer.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one I don't think lasted very long.
Right. He seems a little younger.
Yeah.
But, she's in a good place. She's on Dynasty.
Right.
She's met this guy. She's getting to hang out at the St. James Club.
Yeah, and they don't really talk a lot about Dynasty in this segment, do they?
No, she mentions
just more about her and an intimate conversation with Joan Collins.
That's right.
And we see more Robin Leach. It's like they save Robin Leach for the end of the show because he hasn't been around very much until now.
Right. He's been busy partying.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah. And she and Peter Holm have set up a new production company, as Hollywood people would do.
Yeah.
And then Liza and Ann-Marget talk about why they like this club. And Liza seems to like it because she likes it.
Fair enough.
She kind of said something.
Yeah.
Oh, I just, I like it because I really like the humidity or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, not a lot of detail.
Yeah, and Ann-Marget had a nice day, hanging out on the beach in town and everything. And there's some fireworks. End of the party ends with fireworks. And Joan Collins, we all turn into 5-year-olds.
Yeah,
they're fireworks, and even Robin Leach can enjoy it, cut loose a little bit.
As much as he's seen, with a journalism background, covering the rich and famous, even he is still captivated by fireworks.
That's right.
I feel good about that, actually.
Yeah.
It's reassuring somehow.
And I just want to mention, I think we mentioned the other credits here, that Almasini and all of that, but I noticed a name, I don't know what this means, but for television program enterprises, Philbin S. Flanagan.
Yeah, Philbin S. Flanagan. Great name.
A great name.
Yeah. Yeah,
I hope everyone referred to him as Philbin S. Flanagan.
Yeah.
And Philbin, not Phil.
Yeah, totally. I don't know anything about this individual, but maybe we can find something out. Al Massini should be in the Television Hall of Fame, though. And there's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I think so.
That guy was really one of the unsung heroes of the 1980s with a lot of, Solid Gold and...
Oh, that's right, Solid Gold, too.
Entertainment Tonight and, yeah. Ooh, and Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous.
crazy.
Well, how do you feel after 60 minutes of Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, not including commercials?
Poor and unknown.
Oh.
Exhausted.
Yeah.
It was a little exhausting.
It was a lot to go through, yes. Yeah. And just a lot of jet setting, a lot of different locales, so much to see and do. Let's face it, this is a pretty shallow program.
Yes.
There's really not a lot going on. There's little hints here and there of maybe some reflection, but it's all artifice. It's very, carefully presented in a certain way. It worked for its audience. I'm sure it worked. It was on long enough that I'm sure it did good ratings. Multiple stations carried it. Not exactly my thing.
No, not my thing. I also think probably half hour would have been enough.
Yeah.
Given how much they packed into this hour, I think they could have done a half hour.
Yeah. And I think later they actually did turn it into a half hour when like Sherry Belafonte joined towards the end of the show's run. Yeah, I think there was a cookbook. I believe there was like a board game. So they tried to like really turn this into like a big brand, but ultimately I think people, will just remember it just for the show. And not necessarily the spinoffs and the other products, but really, it was a syndicated show. It had Robin Leach. Robin Leach very strongly associated with it. He doesn't really make that much of an impression in this episode, though, does he?
He's just there, here and there.
It seems to me like he would pop up a lot of different places too, not just in the course of his job, but he would be like a guest on talk shows and things that. So I think that's why he just seemed like everywhere because he was.
Yeah.
But
and maybe as the show went on, he was in it more.
Yeah,
I don't know. But there were times when and I talked to so and so. Like, did you really talk to Julio Iglesias?
Yeah.
Were you really at his birthday party? I think they did show up. I think maybe there was one shot of them together. But I believe he talked to Joan Collins because he was there.
Yeah.
Some of the other stuff, like,
right, and he was there with. Did they show? They showed
with Liza.
There with Liza and Ann-Marget. Yeah.
I don't know why he didn't talk to Michael York.
No.
John Mills.
Well, can you blame Robin Leach for wanting to hang around with Ann-Marget, not more than John Mills?
Right.
Robin Leach, I believe, was a happily married man, though. I think.
Yeah.
He had like an actual family.
Yeah.
He had a life,
Right.
outside of all this. But I think he did seem like he was like a hard worker, I guess, and promoting the show and doing whatever it was he was doing and guiding the show, producing. So good for him. But yeah, this is an interesting relic of the 1980s, Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, I would say. Mm-hmm. And I think a bit much.
Yeah.
Not my thing. I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think a 30-minute version of this would be much more palatable. Now, of course, we were watching an original broadcast taping with the commercials. If you took the commercials out, it'd probably be like 40 minutes.
Yeah.
But even then...
But the commercials were the best part.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we get a good sense of the time from the commercials and some of these products that are no longer here. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So I regret nothing is what I'm saying.
Okay.
and yes, and thanks again to everybody for last season voting for this poll. And
right.
And yes, hopefully you enjoyed this.
Yes, and it does say something about the 80s. It's, a snapshot of some attitudes of the 80s. So.
It certainly does, yeah.
All right. I don't have anything else.
I think that's all I got to say about it, too.
Okay.
I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
Yes, unfortunately, unlike Julio Iglesias, here at the Battle of the Network Shows studios, we don't have places to sleep in every room.
No, they should look into that.
So we're going to have to hold out a little bit longer.
Yeah.
This episode brought to you by the exclusive all-inclusive BOTNS Club. Sign up for bottomless free podcasts. This episode also brought to you by Rob and Leach, attorneys at law. This episode also brought to you by Soda Pop Wishes and Cheese Dip Dreams. Join us next time for another exciting episode of Battle of the Network Shows. Learn more, leave feedback, and suggest future episodes at battleofthenetworkshows.com. Follow us on Twitter at BatNetShows and like our Facebook page, facebook.com/Battle of the Network Shows.